Hi, my name is Zico. I'm a technical specialist at Alpha Technology, and welcome to this first in a series of application-based videos. In this episode, we'll be going through the EnviroMon current monitoring kit to demonstrate a real-world application monitoring three-phase current consumption in a factory. The EnviroMon current monitoring kit includes everything you need to get started. All you need is a PC to start recording. Included in the kit is the EL005 data logger, which is the interface between your PC and your measurement input. It comes supplied with a USB to serial adapter and a power supply. The logger does have a backup battery in case of mains failure, which will give you a few hours of backup. The measurement interface is the EL040 current converter. This connects to the EL005 data logger using the supplied 5-meter converter cable, and it can take 3 inputs from current clamps. So the supplied current clamps in the kit are 3 400 amp current clamps. They don't require any batteries to operate them, they just plug straight into the EL040 current converter. So to start recording, what we need to do is configure the data logger on the PC. Once we've configured the data logger on the PC, we can disconnect it from the PC and we'll start recording immediately. And the current configuration, it will take approximately 2 months of data with the memory on board. So that's 3 channels monitoring a sampling interval of once every minute, providing that there's power to the logger at all times. So let's get started. We're now on location in the factory by the distribution board. We have our data logging kit and laptop ready. So the first thing we need to do is to plug the power supply into the EL005 data logger. And the next thing we need to do is to connect the EL005 data logger to the EL040 current converter using the supplied 5-meter converter cable. The next thing we need to do is to plug the current clamps into the inputs of the EL040 current converter. So each input has 2 connections. So for channel 1, channel 2 and channel 3, these will be phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 in this case. And once we've done that, we need to ensure that the current clamps are set to 1 millivolt per amp. We can do this by ensuring that the switch is set to the bottom position. Once we've done this, we're ready to place the clamps around each of the phases in our distribution board. There are a number of distribution panels by the distribution board. These spread current around the factory. We'll be monitoring the current around one of those distribution panels. So we'll be placing the clamps around distribution panel 4. Phase 1 is red on channel 1. Phase 2 is yellow on channel 2. And phase 3 is blue on channel 3. It doesn't matter which way round you have your clamps. Note, this is an old UK colouring code convention. So we can now connect the data logger to the PC for configuration using the supplied USB to serial adapter. We can now run the software. So choose Settings, Configuration, Change and then Quick. Click on Next and then choose the COM port. In this case it's COM4. Click on Next. And it'll scan the data logger to see what's connected to it, and it's found an EL040 on address 14. We now need to enable each of the channels by double-clicking on the columns, and we need to ensure that each sensor is set to EL040 amps, so for each channel. The next thing we need to do is to give them channel names. So this is distribution point 4, so channel 1 will be dist 4, phase 1, R for red. Channel 2 will be dist 4, phase 2, Y for yellow. And channel 3 will be dist 4, phase 3, B for blue. We can now click on Program. This will write the configuration information that's on the PC into the data logger. Ready for us to start recording. So once it does that, we click on Finish, and it will ask us to exit for changes to take effect. and we can restart the software. And as you can see, we now have live readings. So we can now exit the software before we disconnect the data logger from the PC. So once we've exited the software, we can disconnect the data logger from the laptop, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks' time to connect the laptop to the PC, run the software, and it will download the data. It's been 2 weeks since the data logger was left to collect data. We can now connect the logger back to our laptop and run the software to download the data. So as you can see, once we load the software, it automatically downloads the data. We'll skip through this process as it will take some time to download the 2 weeks worth of data. Once the data is downloaded, we can now start to analyze this information. To access the spreadsheet, we need to select View and then Spreadsheet. We can now move and resize the window. As you can see, we have one trace showing. To view all 3 traces, we need to select the multicolored button at the top. Once you select that, you can now see all 3 traces there. You need to ensure that all checkboxes are ticked and then click on OK. And as you can see, you can now view all 3 traces. We can go backwards and forwards through the data by clicking on the arrows at the top of the menu. And as you can see, it's scrolling by week range. We can change the interval to be daily or monthly by clicking on the Spreadsheet Options button, which is the tick box. Once you select that, we can change the scroll range from week to day and then click on OK. And as you can see, when we're scrolling through the data, it's now going in day intervals. We can access our graph by clicking on View and then Graph. We can move and resize the window. You'll notice 3 traces appearing on the screen there with red, blue and green colours. We can change these colours to match the colours on our distribution board, and we can do this by going into Settings, Preferences and then Colours. So we'll go to Trace 2 and we'll change that from its previous colour to yellow. Trace 1 was already in red, so we can leave it as it is, and then click on OK. And then we'll go to Trace 3 and we'll change that from green to blue. And then what you'll notice is that the actual colours, because there's a yellow colour, the white background makes it difficult to look. So we can change the background by clicking on the background colour there and then choosing grey and then clicking OK. And as you can see, you've got a much clearer representation of the graph there. The next thing we can do is we can scroll through the data by clicking on the arrows, and just scrolling through this data, you can see it takes a while, so you can actually start to zoom out. It'll give you a better scroll range. So say for example we wanted to view just one channel. We can do this by clicking on the multicolored button, which is the Select Parameter Options. Once we have this, we can click on Clear, which will clear all traces, and just choose the channel that we're interested in. And once we select that, we can click on OK. You can now see that we just have one trace that we can analyze further. And if you want to get them back, you just click on the Select Parameter Options buttons, which is the multicolored button. And then we can now highlight all channels and click on OK, and all 3 traces appear back. So this concludes our application-based current monitoring kit video. Thank you for watching this, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.